Oh, hello there. I think we're live. So, hello and welcome to another filled edition of Adam's Music Box. And this is, of course, the Sunday stream, which customarily, but not all the time, follows the Saturday stream. I sometimes switch those around, but I'll leave that up to you to figure out. So, today's a fun one. Unlike some of the more brooding topics we go through. Just kidding. I think they're all fun. But today is something that was actually inspired by some of the things I've been talking about over the last few episodes. And this is songs that have been misunderstood. Now, this is different than songs whose lyrics are misheard. A classic misheard lyric is actually one of my favorite songs from one of my favorite bands, the Manfred Mann version of Blinded by the Light. Now, the lyric that Chris Thompson was trying to say was blinded by the light, revved up like a deuce, as in Little Deuce Scoop, you don't know what I got. But it kind of sort of sounds like blinded by the light, wrapped up like a douche, another runner in the night, which may refer to the organized theft of various hygiene products from your local CVS, which is an increasing occurrence. But while Manfred Mann's Earth Band was very profound, I don't know if they had the foresight to know that in the 2020s, organized theft of things like toothbrushes, tampons, douches, shaving cream, and other things that you wouldn't normally think of as having a high street value, unless, of course, bought and sold in bulk. And of course, when you're stealing it, the profit margin is very large. But anyway, that's an example of a misheard lyric. And there is some overlap, but surprisingly less than you might think. Because a misunderstood lyric is when the songwriter, the lyricist, the singer, sometimes it's all three the same person, they have a very clear idea of what they want to convey, but the audiences don't always get it. So, I've written down a few of these that I think might be interesting. And again, there is some overlap with misheard lyrics. And I do very much encourage you to jump in the chat, whether you're watching live or otherwise, and participate in this because I know, as always, there is always something that I will forget. So, without further ado, let's see what we've got. So, a lot of these come from the age when Tipper Gore and her friends wanted to censor music. So, there was certainly a lot of maybe intentional misunderstanding at around that time. And so, we begin with Under the Blade, a Twisted Sister song from the 80s. Now, Tipper Gore and her husband, speaking for her in a Senate committee hearing, said that this song was about sadomasochism and bondage, but it wasn't. It was a song about the fear that one has when they go under the anesthetic before a surgery. And this is something that Dee Snider said to the face of Al Gore and those other senators at those infamous PMRC hearings. And famously, Dee Snider said that if you want to look for that other stuff, you can see it, but it only exists in Tipper Gore's head. And Al Gore wasn't very happy about that. But hey, it was an inconvenient truth. The song Under the Blade is about one's fear of going literally under the surgeon's blade. And so that song, I think, definitely qualifies as one that's misunderstood. Now we go to Ozzy Osbourne for the song Suicide Solution. Now, this song is, as the lyrics quite clearly, in my view, indicate, it's about alcoholism. Wine is fine, but whiskey's quicker. I mean, come on. It's about drinking yourself to death because of alcoholism. But there was a lawsuit over the song claiming that it encouraged some young people to take their own lives, which is obviously a sad thing, but nothing to do with the song. One, because a song cannot make you do that. Songs aren't magic. They're not the devil. They are songs. You can like the songs or you can dislike the songs, but they don't have some sort of extraordinary power over people. But there was a big lawsuit about it. Ozzy and his bandmates won the day, and if only they listened to the lyrics, because the lyrics make it quite clear that it's a song about alcohol and alcoholism, not about those other things. Then there's Hotel California. Hotel California, a lot of people think is a song about hotels or a song about California. it's about neither. It's about addiction, and it's about the addictions that we can't really escape. And there's some, subtle references to the lifestyles of those who become hooked on these substances, particularly as it relates to fame and the music industry. But you can check out You Can Never Leave. That again, it's a metaphor for being hooked on this lifestyle and the various substances that lubricate that lifestyle, not about a hotel. Some people are confused because, of course, the Beverly Hills Hotel is on the cover, and you say Hotel California because it's kind of an upbeat song. You're like, hey, I'm going to stay in a nice hotel in California. It's not about that. And the Eagles will be the first people to tell you if Don Henley isn't busy suing you for talking about them online. You'll see what I mean. There's a Rick Beato clip about it. Okay. Next, we go to Helter Skelter, a song that many people thought was an inspiration for Charlie Manson's deadly murders. But the song was, in fact, an amusement park ride, a Helter Skelter roller coaster that goes round and round and up and down. And that's it. It's a song about a theme park, a fun fair. Take the token, win your prize, smash the hammer, win the toy duck, be a federal agent who kills a small squirrel and a raccoon. No, actually, that did happen because we are living in a world that is helter skelter and insane. So sadly, that did happen. But what didn't happen is that Paul McCartney decided to write a song about inspiring a heinous crime. There was, in fact, no direct link between the two, although many people at the time thought there was. Okay, let's see what else we've got on this list. The next one is sort of more double entendre than misunderstood, but I'm going to definitely put it on this list. I think it's very deserving of being on this illustrious list. And that is Peter, Paul, and Mary's Puff the Magic Dragon. It reminds me of a line from King of the Hill where Hank is saying, well, why can't the kids sing a nice song like Puff the Magic Dragon? And then one of his friends tells him what it's about. He goes, it's about what? um because this video is going to get so suppressed and censored. I just realized, because we're talking about all the things people think these songs are about, drugs, violence, oh god, are they going to censor the hell out of me? Anyway, for the one guy watching, this cuts for you. As George Carlin said. Anyway, getting back to the song. So, some people just thought that it was a pleasant little children's song about a make believe dragon who lives by the sea, but it's really about smoking the reefer. Again, I'm going to get so censored. It's a song about the cannabis, the marijuana, the Mary Jane, the mainliner, all of that fun stuff. And there you go. That one I think was, well, a lot of these others were unintentional. And people just either misconstrued it out of ignorance or wrong guess, or because of some malicious attempt to extort or censor people. That one does seem to be at least partly intentional. Peter, Paul, and Mary knew what they were doing. And let's just hope they weren't flying that jet plane after puffing the magic dragon. Anyway, moving on. Let's try to find one that isn't about drugs. Oh, here we go. Here's one about cake. So the next misunderstood song on this list is by one of my favorite songwriters of all time. I say that a lot, the wonderful Jimmy Webb. And it's in many ways, of all of the wonderful songs he wrote, in many ways it's his signature song. And this is MacArthur Park. And there's the famous line about someone left the cake out in the rain. I don't think that I can take it because it took so long to bake it, and I'll never have that recipe again. And a lot of people thought that it was either just sort of rhyming gibberish or some reference to psychedelia and the rest of it. It wasn't. The things that were sung about in MacArthur Park were actually based on a true story, because Jimmy Webb's wife at the time lived, or worked rather, in the Westlake MacArthur Park area of LA. It's the kind of area where you can buy a fake ID, get shot, or buy some of the drugs that these other songs were allegedly referencing. But in the 60s, it was a lot nicer than it is today. And so he was there just having, like a little picnic with his wife, and everything was fine. And it started to rain, which does happen every now and then in LA. There was a song about that. If you like that song, let me know in the chat. And so naturally, he saw some people having a picnic and they left the cake out in the rain. So far from being some sort of weird reference to psychedelia or something, it was simply a reference to being in the park during a picnic and observing the rain coming down, and these picnickers got their cake wet. It actually happened. Someone did leave the cake out in the rain. No obscure references there. Just good old fashioned musical reportage. Okay, let's see what else we have on this list. Okay, we've got Little Red Corvette by Prince, which a lot of people think is about a Chevrolet sports car. But it is not. Like 99.9% of all Prince songs, it's about sex. And there are lots of double entendre. Again, this one is in the intentional pile. Prince knew what he was doing because all of his songs are about sex in one way or another. He was being metaphorical. He was being laden with entendre. Maybe Tipper Gore thought maybe he thought he'd just drive it under Tipper Gore. Oh God, I've done a double entendre myself now. It can happen, you know. But no, the song is not about a car. It's about what every other Prince song is about. But a lot of people still think it's about a car, and I wonder if General Motors had a good year when that song was released. We will have to do a bit of research. Let's see what else we have on that list. King of Pain by the Police. It's about sort of ecological meltdown and all of that. And it was Sting's wife who sort of criticized it, not for the lyrical content, but she thought by having a kind of upbeat song, it was sort of overshadowing the sort of grim, bleak realities of a dystopian, ecologically melted down future about which Sting was singing. So I think that deserves a place on our list. What else have we got? You Light Up My Life. A lot of people thought that that was a love song, but it's actually a gospel song by Debbie Boone. It's about Christ. She's singing You, Christ lights up my life. So it's not a secular love song about a husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, which a lot of people thought. It was a really big hit, nevertheless. What else have we got? So then there was Thriller, Michael Jackson's Thriller, and it was just Halloween a few days ago. And that song is associated with it, but it was nothing to do with the occult per se. But Jackson, as someone who grew up a Jehovah's Witness, was terrified that a lot of people watching, well, not a lot, but some people watching might have thought he was promoting, you know, occultism or witchcraft or something like that. And so he put a warning at the beginning of the song, and I'm just going to try to find that for you now and read it to you. Entertain yourselves for a moment while I look this up. So, so here it is. This is the disclaimer that he put at the beginning of the music video. Due to my strong personal convictions, I wish to stress that this film, meaning the film, the mini film, the music video for Thriller, that this film in no way endorses a belief in the occult. So he put that on the video, and the inspiration for it was he saw the film An American Werewolf in London, and he thought, well, why don't I do sort of a danceable video to my song that's loosely based on this whole werewolf thing and the zombie thing. And, you know, it's Halloween stuff, and people have different views on Halloween and whether it's all good fun, whether it isn't. I think it's all good fun, but I think you can be a bit too old for it at one point. I mean, seeing some of these people, your accountant or lawyer running around. Never mind. I was going to say something about drugs again, and I really don't want to get censored any more than I already am. So anyway, Thriller was not an endorsement of the occult. It was just Halloween style fun by someone who loved to be a showman, loved costumery, and was a wonderful dancer, in addition, of course, to his great songwriting and vocals. Rest in peace, the wonderful Michael Jackson. Then, of course, there's Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, which is a not so thinly veiled reference to LSD. But we just can't get away from this. But a lot of people thought that it that it shouldn't be thought of that way. And the Beatles themselves, Paul McCartney was a bit iffy about what it really meant. And the Beatles loved their double entendre. They were actually lyrically masters of it, both McCartney and Lennon. George Harrison loved Monty Python. They were a band that liked their humor, their references. They kind of liked pissing people off with these references. So we'll never really fully know. But if you have any comments about that, let me know in the chat box. Let's see what else I have on this list. So here's one that I think kind of fits that onto this list. And this is My Generation by The Who. Now, as you all know, when Roger Daltrey sings it, he sort of stutters and stammers around the words. Why don't you all fade away? People try to get us down just because we get around. And there's a true story behind that, which is actually totally innocent. He was having a hard time remembering the words. And so, just as sometimes singers will sort of scat, do a bit of do, da 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 da, that's an actual Police song. They'll do that when they forget the words just to sort of keep the rhythm and the melody going along. And that was a take that Roger Daltrey assumed would be a throwaway. But the other guys in the band and the producers thought, hey, that's it. That's the song right there. That works. And so that actually became the single. Now, this was later banned on the BBC, not because of its theme about generational warfare, about I hope I die before I get old. They wanted to ban it because they thought that it would inflict speech impediments on the people listening, particularly the youngsters listening to that. And so it was banned, as a lot of the songs on this list, they tried to ban them. So that's the story with that. Now we go to one of my favorites. Don't worry, we've still got a few more, but this is absolutely one of my favorites. The Kingsmen's Louie Louie. Now, this one is definitely one where there's some, cross, contamination, some symbiosis between the songs with misheard lyrics and the songs whose overall context were misunderstood. The problem with this song wasn't from the public, but from the FBI, as Zappa would have said. The FBI thought that because the lyrics were sung in a bit of a mangled manner and the recording wasn't the highest of fidelity, that the lyrical content was actually trying to push subversive behavior and communist propaganda on the kids. And so they listened to the song hundreds of times. They slowed it down, they sped it up, they played it backwards. And with all of that taxpayer money, they only concluded that there is no meaning to the song, that it is literally indecipherable. Did it ever occur to them that Louie Louie is a cover and that previous versions of the song are sung in a much clearer way and recorded, in a more professional manner? Let me just read you some of these lyrics to show you just how totally innocent they are. And this is actually what taxpayer money was spent on to try to, fight the Cold War. A fine little girl, she waits for me. Me catch a ship across the sea. Me sailed that ship all alone. Me never think I'll make it home. It's about a guy who misses his girl. Louie Louie, the bartender is called Louie. Oh no, take me where you gotta go. 3 nights and days I sailed the sea. Me think of girl constantly. On that ship I dream she there. I smell the rose in her hair. Me see Jamaica. It's a Jamaican love song essentially about a guy missing his girl because he's sailing the sea. Me see Jamaica, the moon above. It won't be long. Me see me love. Me take her in my arms and then I'll tell her I'll never leave again. Oh, how sweet. not really what I would consider communist propaganda. But there you go. A lot of very important people, including those working for J. Edgar Hoover, who was a person who hid his own private life from people. I think Leonardo DiCaprio made a film about that. But yeah, that actually happened. None of this is made up. You can see it for yourselves, folks. Let's see what else we have on this list. This one I mentioned the other day, Born in the USA. So this was a song about the ill treatment of Vietnam veterans no real place for them in the contracting economy. A lot of people then, and a lot of people still today, thought of it as just like a rah patriotic nationalistic song, a kind of rock version of the country song "God Bless the USA." But it wasn't. It was an anti-war song and a song about what happens to veterans after the war. And Bruce Springsteen himself has commented on this, saying that because it was such a, the music was so anthemic and it was so, bright synthesizers and, loud guitar and all that, it just sort of made you want to pump your fists and dance about. So he recorded just with an acoustic steel guitar many years later, a version of the song that sort of slowed down, much more folksy, and you can tell that by that when you put it in that context, it's very clear what the song is about, which is quite interesting, an experiment in and of itself, because this sort of relates to what Sting's wife was saying about King of Pain. Lyrics, the music gives us, the audience, cues about what we should be feeling. That's why, of course, instrumental music conveys emotion, because sounds in life, in nature, and therefore in music do convey emotion. Lyrics aren't the only game in town. The music itself, objectively, certain tones, when arranged together, they denote certain emotions. And we know this even from our animal friends, dogs, cats, birds. When they're happy, when they're sad, when they're angry, when they're fearful, they make different sounds. And we, as the humans, instinctively get that. The same is true with music. And so the actual instrumental music that, is glued together with the lyrics, it sends emotional cues, it sends messages to the audience. And the original version of Born in the USA sent a let's all smile and be happy and pump our fists and dance and, peanuts and cracker jacks, hell yeah. But when you listen to him just play it on the steel guitar, very, very different emotional signals. Would that version have been as big of a hit, though? Almost unquestionably, it would not have been as big a hit as the original version with its, heavy synthesizers, drum set, and the whole shebang. So there you go. Let's see what else we have on this list. We turn to Leonard Skinner now, and their song "Sweet Home Alabama." A lot of people to this day don't really know: is this a song that's praising the culture of Alabama? Is it praising the politics of Alabama at the time it was written? Is it criticizing the culture of Alabama? Is it criticizing the politics? And the one particular lyric that confused people is the one about in Birmingham, they love the governor, who at that time was George Wallace. He was, at that point in his career, a segregationist type. And obviously, he was a controversial figure, but also popular in some quarters. And no one really knew if that was an endorsement or if they were implying that they didn't like him. And members of the band themselves over the years have told various different stories, from neutrality to criticism to praise. And so, much like the Beatles with Lucy in the Sky, they've kept it sort of a bit ambiguous. But nevertheless, it's generally a song that it put Alabama on the map. And that map would have been useful because the band was from Jacksonville. But there you go with that. Those are the ones that I've got on my list, but I am sure that there are others. Some of the ones with the misunderstood lyrics are, of course, very fun, but I think the ones with the miscontextualized lyrics, if you will, are actually the most fun of all. Because it shows that, truth is in the eye of the beholder. I mean, look at lyrics from John Anderson in Yes, who said something very interesting. He said that he doesn't even write lyrics for the meaning, he writes them for the sound. So for John Anderson, he uses words the way that others would use musical notes. It's almost like lyrical scat. And he said that I put them together based on the way they sound. And later on, I'll assign a meaning. And so can you. So don't hit yourself over the head trying to figure out, yes, lyrics. They can literally mean anything. And so said lyricist John Anderson himself. Then, of course, there's scat, literal scat, where the voice is just used as an instrument, a cappella. Singing is sort of one step removed, although it typically has words, though it needn't always have them. Um, I'm sure there are lots of other songs that one could put on this list. So do let me know. As always, remember to share this video with all of your friends or people who aren't your friends. A click's a click. And now I'm selling memberships. If you see that little button that says join, if you click it, you can buy a membership that will give you certain perks, access to behind the scenes stuff. You can chat with me privately and find out what I really think. Won't that be fun? I'd love to do it sometime. You can also send super chats. That is now enabled. So, let's keep on trucking and keep on listening to those misunderstood songs. Let me know which ones I forgot. I'm sure there are plenty. Lots to talk about next time. Like, subscribe, and we will see you next time. Take care.